Om Namo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 7. Mamaivaamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana manashastani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. Repeat. Mamaivaamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana manashastani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. Can someone please read the translation? Mataji's Prabhu's.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada teacher. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Preeti Mataji. Ananda Prabhu, you may please stop sharing screen, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhu Samaji Zandat Pranam. So let's try to discuss from this verse 15.7. So Lord is saying about my eternal fragmental part. So we are all his part and parcels. We are all his part and parcels due to our conditioning. We have forgotten him. Or whenever Srila Prabhupada mentions about preaching or making a devotee, he mentions it clearly that everyone is actually Krishna conscious living entities. All living entities are actually Krishna conscious living entities, but they have forgotten it. So he mentions the word as revive. So the reviving the Krishna consciousness, that is, we have forgotten that. So reminding us that we have to clear that covering, outer covering of dust accumulated from so many births, so many activities, so many this thing. We have forgotten the Lord. So we have to revive that lost consciousness or lost love for Godhead. That is what Srila Prabhupada mentions as preaching or making a devotee. So all are by natural devotees, but somehow forgotten the love of Godhead. So reviving that lost consciousness or lost love of Godhead, he mentions it as preaching or making a devotee. We are all actually Krishna conscious living entities, but as Dehadari Jeev. So we have got a body and we have got that covering. So with that covering, when we identify ourselves with the covering that we are this body, then we get bound to this material world and material consciousness. So that here Lord is mentioning, that is the reason for the suffering. So we see the word karshati. So we are struggling. So that Srila Prabhupada explains that the struggling happens because of that conditioning, and because of that wrong identification with the body, we struggle. So in the initial introduction there itself, we understand Srila Prabhupada clearly explains that all these problems arise because of our misidentification or our false ego, the false identification, or trying to be the proprietor or controller of everything. So we forget the thing that we are the servant of the Lord, part and parcel of the Lord. We forget our real identity and take up this false identity. That becomes the reason for our struggle or our problems in this material world. So that is explained in this verse. And your Lord says that by nature we are all devotees, all part and parcel of the Lord. So we have the same nature as the Lord. That is Brahma's prayers. We see Brahma worships Lord Krishna. Brahma glorifies Lord Krishna as Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchid Ananda Vigraha. Satchid Ananda. So as part and parcel of the Lord, we also have that Satchidananda portions, but in minute quantity. So the quality is there, the nature is there, but in minute quantity. So we are part and parcel of the Lord. So that identity is clearly given here. Srila Prabhupada mentions that real identity is clearly given here. So we have identity cards, ID cards, different numbers or thing to refer us in our so wherever somebody, our managers or our colleagues, they all refer us with some ID or some unique this thing, so number or name or somewhere code words or different things we have. So likewise, our real identity we have to understand. So our real identity is that we are spirit soul, part and parcel of the Lord. That real identity we have to understand. All of us here, how many are here? 19. So 17, 18, 19 of us are here. So we are all trying, or we already know the identity, but still it's a opportunity for all of us to remind ourselves that Sanatanaha, it is eternal living entity, it's eternal part and parcel of the Lord, eternally fragmented part and parcel of the Lord, that we have to understand. So here Srila Prabhupada mentions it is not like some material thing, we cut it off and then we fix it back. It is not like that. We are all part and parcel of the Lord. So by nature we have the qualities as that of the Lord, but in quantity wise it may be different. So Lord has 100% all the qualities, but we have that in 0.0001% or even lesser than that, like that minute way. In a fraction we also have those qualities as that of the Lord. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he gave the philosophy, says he gave us the Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. So simultaneously one and different from the Lord. We are simultaneously one and different from the Lord. One as in terms of the quality and different in terms of the quantity. So that we have to understand. So there the problem comes, then we are also spiritual beings, we are also spiritual living entities, and why are we suffering? Because we have come to this material world, we have forgotten the Lord, or we have been trying to be envious of the Lord, we have forgotten the Lord, we wanted to enjoy being away from the Lord, separated from the Lord. So the Lord gave us this place and he gave us all this arrangement that you enjoy. But again, he didn't just leave us. He comes again mercifully. He comes down to this material world, performs different pastimes, different incarnations he takes, and he comes in different avatars and different leelas he performs to attract us back towards him. And he gives everyone the opportunity to connect back to him and go back to him. He's giving that opportunity mercifully. See any of the temple, most of the temple around us, we see the deities. Most of the time, most of the form of the deity, if we see, they'll be standing. Lord Krishna would be standing. He's just standing and waiting. So he's not even sitting. In some places he may be sitting, or some places he may be lying down, like we see in Sri Rangam or Padmanabha Swami temple. We see the Lord in a lying posture, but still the darshan will be open. Darshan will be throughout. Maybe very few hours he takes rest. Otherwise, all the time is so mercifully giving darshan to everybody. We may not like when we are sleeping, somebody comes, just ignore and we continue our sleep. But Lord is mercifully, He is lying down there, but mercifully He is just waiting to give us the glance or give us the darshan and attract us back towards him. Is giving us that opportunity. So he's very mercifully standing there, or while you're sleeping or sitting, whatever posture he is mercifully giving darshan. And if you see Jagannath, he's just extended his hands and he's just waiting for us to go embrace him. So he's just mercifully taking so many incarnations and taking so many performing so many pastimes to attract us back towards him. So in this verse, Lord mentions that clearly, that everyone is his part and parcel. But somehow we have forgotten him and we come here and struggle. So that struggle begins with the misidentification with the body, and then the senses. 6 senses, it is mentioned. So 5 senses plus the controller of this so-called controller, there is a mind. So 6 senses is mentioned, 5 and the mind. Because of this 6 things, we are struggling away from the Lord. So we have to connect back with the Lord. That portion Srila Prabhupada mentions here, that the direct expansions, the incarnations, we have different incarnations of the Lord. The primary expansions in the form of Vishnu Tattvas, and the secondary expansions are the living entities. Primary expansions, we see different incarnations. Here it's mentioned about Lord Rama, Narsimha Deva, and different Vishnu Murti, or the predominating deities in the Vaikuntha planet. So all the different deities, all the different expansions of the Lord, they all come under the primary expansions. And the secondary expansion is the separated living entities, who are the eternal servitors. So that we have to understand, that we are also always present, but we keep changing the bodies. We change the dress, we just change the dress, but the body is there. Sorry, the soul is there. So we are eternal. The body keeps changing, but the soul inside is eternal. We are always there because we are part and parcel of the Lord. So our this thing is that first is individuality and a minute independence. So these two things, as a nature of the soul, we have it, that individuality, a separate existence, and the minute independence we have. So it is up to us. If we make, Srila Prabhupada mentions here, that if we make use of that independence in the right direction, we try to engage in the service of the Lord, and we try to become eligible for liberation. That way we can understand the Lord, and we can go back to Him, and then no more the suffering, no more conditioned life, no more bondage in this material world. We get freed. But if we try to associate with the body, and we try to identify that false identification with the body, then we struggle, because we are trying to go away from the Lord. So that point we have to understand, that struggle, very hard struggle to maintain this existence in the material world. That is just because we are forgetting the transcendental loving service. So by nature, we all have that nature to serve. So we, in general, we see we serve our family, we serve our friends, we serve the society. If we have nobody to serve, we feel lonely. Then we take we own a pet. Cat or dog, or different animals or birds, different beings, fish or anything. We try to serve them. So that serving tendency is always there. As it's mentioned in the Shastra, that nature, as the nature of water is to flow. We place on a higher surface, and it flows to the lower surface. Similarly, the nature of the soul, nature of living entities is to serve, and the service is towards the Lord. So when we forget the Lord, and we try to serve XYZ person or different living entities, we may end up in miseries. It's not that we should not serve anybody, we should serve. But when we serve the Lord, and we see Lord within everybody as Paramatma, then we serve all the living entity out of compassion, then we can actually sustain. Otherwise, what happens, we try to serve people, we try to serve animals or people or different things we try to serve, and in that expectation is that I serve him or her like this manager or my partner or my friends or my parents or my children. I serve like this, like this, like this, with that terms and conditions, that expectation list. And when the expectation is not met, we end up in misery. The threefold miseries we have. So Adhyatmika, Adidevika, Adibhautika we have. So the Adhyatmika misery, we get carried away into that self, by self thinking, and because of the mind and all that, we get carried away, and we get into this struggle again due to ourselves, the problem arising from our own thoughts or our own expectations, our own mind. We get struggle here. So it is mentioned, Srila Prabhupada mentions here, this conditioned soul, though it is very spiritual in nature, though it's all eternal, but still after coming to the conditioned world, it is like bound or shackled by iron chains. So you're not able to move. So either it is gold chain we are shackled by, we are bound by, or any metal or iron or whatever it is, but this binding is binding. We cannot be freed from that. We call it a gold chain or whatever it is. The chain is controlling us. It is stopping us from progressing. One moment, sorry. And from a different living entity is troubling. Okay. So when Srila Prabhupada mentions here about the three modes of nature also, that goodness, when we are in the goodness, mode of goodness, activities are good. When we are in the mode of passion, activities are troublesome. But when we are in the mode of ignorance, we are degrading ourselves. So that all starts with the senses. Then the senses, if we see in the sitting places of lust, if we see in the third, fourth chapters, we see that the worst enemy, that is the kama, lust. So their sitting places, we see the senses, mind and intelligence. These are the sitting places that is mentioned. So the problem arises from the sitting places, senses, mind and intelligence. So this arises. So there we have to purify our consciousness. We have to purify our consciousness, highest stage. We have to see below that whatever is there. So that is a subtle body. So the soul is covered by a subtle body, and then covered by the gross body. Whatever we are seeing is the gross body, the Pancha Bhuta elements, five air, water, fire, ether, all these five elements, the Pancha Mahabhuta. So the outer covering gross body. So gross body, inside that gross body, there is a subtle body which is the immediate covering of the soul. So if we see the next verse, 15.8, it is mentioned that as air carries aroma, So like when we have some nice flower nearby, rose or whatever flower is there, that aroma reaches us maybe a little far away also, that is through the medium of air. And if you see some places different plants grow, we wouldn't have put a seed there. Somehow different carriers, the wind or the other birds or insects, something carried that pollens from there and somehow dropped it here, because of that the flowers, plants are growing here. So that it is a medium through which the fragrance or aroma or the seed itself is getting carried through the wind. Likewise, our body, this inside the gross body, there is a subtle body that carries the soul, like the wind is carrying aroma, fresh fragrance of the flower. It is mentioned. Next verse it is there. So that is a subtle body. The subtle body takes this soul to the other body when this body is no longer usable. So in the second chapter, initially when Lord mentions about the difference in the analytical study, the Sankhya philosophy, there he mentions 2.13, 2.14, there he mentions about Dehinosmin yatha dehe, the body keeps changing, the soul changes from boyhood to youth to old age. Similarly, when this body expiry date is reached and it is no longer usable, so it accepts another body. That acceptance of another body lies in our present activities and present thoughts, the desires. Based on all that, the next body is formed. The next body, our destiny is formed based on what we are doing now, what we are thinking now, with what consciousness or which mode of material nature we are in, and which mode of material nature we are in while we leave this body. All that plays a major role in deciding our next body. You understand? It is just like vasamsi janani yatha vihaya, just like changing dress, or it's just like changing outer covering. So we're just changing the outer covering, but the person is the same. Likewise, the soul is the same, but the outer covering changes. So today, this blue shirt, tomorrow I may be wearing a red kurta, or different dresses, different dresses we may wear. So we understand the person by the identity, not by the outer covering. So likewise, the soul, the living entity, has an outer covering, to which when it identifies itself as the body, then all this problem arises. So you have to clear that. So the clearing that, it comes from clearing the cleaning up the subtle body. So the mind, intelligence, and false ego. So clearing. So mind is polluted and intelligence is bewildered, and false ego, it comes up, that false ego, that fake identity that we are this body. So all these three things we have to clear. So the mind we have to control, then intelligence comes into control, then the false ego changes, false identity changes to real identity, that we are part and parcel of the Lord. And you understand that, and when we just not hearing or knowing that, but we have to follow that, practically apply that knowledge, that jnana becomes the vijnana, and we engage ourselves with the service of the Lord, then it really matters. Otherwise, we are just going behind the purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Doesn't make sense. So when it is mentioned in the example, their case of Ajamilla. The case of Ajamilla, when Ajamilla was towards the end, the deathbed, he was in the deathbed, and Yamadutas appeared. When Yamadutas appeared, they were about to take him away. As we all know, that he couldn't, he was scared, he was really scared of those ferocious forms, that he just shouted his son's name, Narayana. And immediately Vishnudutas appeared. He was so attached to his youngest son, maybe 10th or 11th son, that he was so attached to him that he just called out his name, Narayana, oh my son Narayana. Just Narayana he shouted, and Vishnudutas appeared there. And when Vishnudutas challenged Yamadutas, and they became victorious. Yamadutas failed and Vishnudutas became victorious, and they chased them away. So they were asking, so what initially their conversation when it was there, what is the definition of dharma? So they've just mentioned that dharma means whatever is there in the scriptures, whatever is there in the Vedas, just the Vedic knowledge. So they didn't know beyond that. So if you see Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 3rd chapter, 19, 20, 21 verses, there it is mentioned. So there Srila Prabhupada mentions that clearly. Then when Vishnudutas challenged Yamaduta, so they mentioned Veda pranihito dharma. Whatever is mentioned in the Vedas is the dharma. So there further Srila Prabhupada mentions that they didn't know that Veda, whatever is mentioned, it is for the peace, So the material world to live peacefully and slowly, gradually elevate us to the highest consciousness, that the person behind the Vedas we have to understand. The 15.15 verse of Bhagavad Gita, we see Vedesya sarver ahame vedyo Vedanta kritveda vid eva chaham. I am the knower of the Vedas, I am the compiler of the Vedas, and indeed I am to be known through all the Vedas, Lord Krishna says. So you have to understand that. So whatever religious principles, it is all basically rituals, and when that ritual we have to make spiritual, that ritual we add SPI, spiritual, if you have to make it, so you have to add Krishna to that. So when you add Krishna consciousness, then it actually becomes real religious principle. Otherwise, whatever we see as dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and the dharma principles, whatever we follow as per the Vedas, so it is just different. In the second chapter, we see different examples. Vedas have all the knowledge. We have to understand it. If we have a lot of time, well and good, we can go through all the Vedas, all the Puranas, all the Itihasas, Upanishads, everything, and come to the final conclusion. Or an intelligent person, what he does is directly approach a person who has concluded, who has known, gone through all these Vedas and concluded. So likewise, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and all the Mahajanas, they have confirmed the fact. So here, this 6.3.19, 20, 21, Yamaraj explains the real religious principles to Yamadutas when they come back. So when they come back to Yamaraja and they are saying, we thought you are our God, but what is this? Those 400 forms, they came and chased us away. We were frightened. We didn't know what to do. We thought we are strong and you are our God. You have given us all the power, but still we failed. What is this? What is to be understood? All this. So there, Yamaraj's explanation, we see that he explains clearly. The Swayambhur Narada Shambho Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahalado Janako Bhishmo Balir Vaisakir Vayam. So he mentions all the 11 names and says, Dwadash Shaite Vijanimo Dharmam Bhagavatam Bhatah Guhyam Vishuddham Durbhodham Yam Nyatvar Mritam Ashnute. So he mentions that real religious principle is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Take his shelter. That is a real religious principle. And this you can only understand by the mercy. So he mentions 11 names. So Brahma, Narada, different names, 11 names, and mentions all of this and me. So he mentions, Yamaraj mentions all these 11 names plus me, so the 12 names. So we, by our mercy or through us, you can get this knowledge. So there he explains that the Mahajanas, so by their mercy. So we have to understand that by the mercy of the Lord and the devotees only we can understand. So in the 4th chapter beginning, we see the different paths or different sampradayas. We see disciplic succession. We see one coming down from Brahma, one coming down from Lord Shiva, Rudra Sampradaya, one coming from Kumaras, one coming from Lakshmi Devi, that Sri Sampradaya. So 4 sampradayas we see. So if we follow any of these 4 sampradaya, we can attain that real knowledge. The Padma Purana is quoted that Sampradaya Vihina ye mantraste nishpala mata. So any mantra or any initiation, it is useless unless we are connected to the proper sampradaya. If we are connected to upper sampradaya, many upper sampradayas are, if we are connected to any of the upper sampradayas, then all the efforts are useless. So if we have to make the best use of our efforts or best use of our opportunity, so you have to connect to a proper sampradaya. So as we are connected to Srila Prabhupada, we are connected to the Brahma, Madhava, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya. So we can be rest assured that we can go back to the Lord. We can serve the Lord nicely. We can connect back with Him. We can be assured, provided we follow the process given to us, Srila Prabhupada has given us. So it all comes through the mercy of Krishna and mercy of Guru. Even in Chatushloki Bhagavatam, just before that, 2.9.33 to 36, there Lord Krishna is explaining to Brahma. So Brahma requests, or Brahma prays to Lord Krishna before creation, that you have given me the duty for creation, all that, but I don't know what to do. Please instruct me, please guide me. So there Lord explains him. So in the 2.9.3132 slokas, we see that by my costless mercy, Krishna directly mentions that by my costless mercy, you led let all that be awakened within you by factual realization. So he says, all of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, color, qualities and activities, let all that be awakened within you by factual realization out of my causeless mercy. That is what Lord Krishna says to Brahma. So by his mercy, Brahma got this power of creation, or he got that this thing, what he is supposed to do. So he got to know about the Lord and his devotional service. He was engaged, and he got to know the highest knowledge by the mercy of the Lord. So that mercy of the Lord and devotees is very important. Lord himself explains that. Then Yamaraj also explains that, being one of the 12 Mahajanas, he explains that to his followers, Yamadutas, that we are supposed to follow this Mahajanas, this 11 people, and 12th me. So you have to follow whatever we say. So we all together accept this fact that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and highest religious principle is understanding him or engaging in his service or completely taking shelter of him. That is a real religious principles. So any ritual we add Krishna to it, it becomes spiritual. So there, that thing we have to understand, and when we follow that religious principles, or just not religious principles, but the actual meaning of the religious principle, that is Krishna consciousness, it's translated here as a real religious principle, that we follow Krishna conscious principles. When we follow that, then what happens? Our polluted mind we can clear, and our bewildered intelligence we can make it stable, and the fake identity or the false ego which we have, we can convert it into real ego, that real identity that we are part and parcel of the Lord. Then what happens? As a spark and fire, the spark is separated from fire, but the quality is there, but in quantity it may be minute. Or example is given as gold mine. So ore, from where the gold is obtained, that is a large source of gold, and a small portion of gold, ring or a chain or whatever we have transformed it, we have made it. So that small gold piece and a large gold iron, so quality is the same, but the quantity is different. Same like a sun, the sun planet, or sun far away, we say sun as a big star, and the rays or the light, we see that. So that is also part of it. So likewise, we are all part and parcel of the Lord. So we have to understand our real identity, and we have to work towards that. Then we can go back to him, and we can connect back to him. So even though we may be in the material world, we can connect back to him and feel that bliss. But still, the material world, we'll have problems and keep getting reminders that this is not our place. This is a material world. Dukhalaya shashvatam. That we have to somehow get out of this place and go back to the spiritual abode of the Lord, and we can always be happy. The Satchit Ananda, we can feel the real bliss. In the material world also we can feel that, provided we are connected with the Lord, but still we'll get problems that reminds us just over and over again. We get the reminders that this is not the place. Just imagine if we were so comfortable, we had all the happiness and everything here, then we wouldn't think of going back to the Lord. So we have to go back to him. So we have problems here, even if we become great devotees, but still we get problems. But by the mercy of the Lord, that magnitude of the problem is made very small. Something big had to happen. By the mercy of the Lord, it comes down to something small. A big accident had to happen, something wrong had to happen with me, but somehow I just fell and cut my small toe, finger, or nail or something. Light it happened. By the mercy of the Lord. Big something, the magnitude is reduced, or very minutely. That we have to understand. If we follow that, well and good, we connect back with him. Otherwise, what happens in the second chapter towards the end about Sthita Prajna Vyakti, Sthita Dhira Vyakti, it is mentioned that there how he sits and how he walks, everything Arjuna. So Lord mentions we have to behave like a tortoise. So the tortoise, the senses, all the hands, legs, mouth, face, everything is outside. But as soon as it sees some danger, it pulls everything inside the shell. Likewise, we also have to engage our senses in the right direction, and other things we have to restrain ourselves. We have to stay away from other this thing. So it's not that we pressure everything. We don't see, we don't talk, we don't do this, we don't do that. It's not that. Devotees do everything, but in the consciousness of serving the Lord. So otherwise, if we are not doing that, if we are not engaging ourselves in the devotional service through the senses, The first is the senses, direct perception. If you don't, the senses, then above senses the mind, then the intelligence. So if you, first it comes from the senses, then we follow that, then the mind, we focus on the Lord, intelligence, with intelligence we serve the Lord. So in that way, when we do, we can control all this and we'll not get into the struggling point. Otherwise what happens, it is carried away like strong wind. It is mentioned as strong wind weeps away a boat on the water. Even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focus can carry away a man's intelligence, it is mentioned. So there the sloka comes, dhyayato vishayan pumsam, while contemplating on one object of sense, we become more attached to it, and then lust develops, then anger, then complete delusion, bewilderment of memory, then intelligence is lost, and complete fall down into this material pool. So if you have to stay away from that, there also Lord mentions that if you have to stay away, you have to engage in my devotional service. 2.5051 slokas we see there. We have to engage in his devotional service. Then we can be freed from the cycle of birth and death, and we can go back to him. So that process is mentioning that we are eternal fragmental part and parcel of the Lord. We can only be happy when we connect back to the Lord, when we go back to the Lord. To that point, we have to remind ourselves daily, over and over again. We have to because we are in this Kali Yuga, we have the tendency to forget things easily. So Lord is reminding us through these verses of Bhagavad-gītā and Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada, through the purport of each of the sloka, he reminds us that we are not this body, we are the soul. Our real identity is revealed as the part and parcel of the Lord and servant of the Lord. So we have to connect back with the Lord. So that part is mentioned clearly here and explained over and over again. So thank you, Prabhu Mataji, for giving this opportunity for me to remind all of you and remind myself as well. So thank you, Prabhu Mataji. Hare Krishna. Please unmute. Let's chant 3 times Hare Krishna Mahamantra for the welfare of all of us connected here.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare
Rama
Krishna,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Rama
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Rama, Rama Rama,
Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.